Okay, so we've been talking about pitch and melody. Remember we said that pitch was how high or low a sound is, and that a melody is a group of pitches that they can move up, they can move down, they can stay the same, which also happens to be what melodic contour is. Melodic contour, contour means shape, so melodic contour is the shape of the melody. And so you watched a couple of videos on that in the previous lesson. What we're going to take a look at today is we're going to take a look at pitch on the music staff. So I'm going to do a basic short introduction, and then I'm going to have you watch another video that goes into a little more depth about it. There are a couple of really important things that you need to remember when you're looking at a music staff. First of all, a music staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. And most of you learned this in elementary school, okay? Note that as notes go up the staff, the pitches are going to get higher. As notes move down the staff, pitches are going to get lower. Now, when we're looking at notes on the music staff, where they are on the staff is going to tell us the letter name of a pitch. Our pitches in music have letter names. And in music, we only use the first 7 letters of our alphabet, okay? And it's called the music alphabet. We only use A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And once we get to G, it repeats. It starts over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you're going up the staff, it's going to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Coming down would be G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Now, the thing is you have to learn and memorize the lines, the letter names of the lines and spaces. So very quickly, remember that there are 5 lines, and we always count from the bottom up, never from the top down, always from the bottom up. And then there are 4 spaces in between those lines, okay? So what we do is when we have a music note, we have to decide whether that note is on a line or a space. And this is how you figure that out. A music note, you look at the music note head. This is called the head of the music note. It doesn't matter right now for our purposes. It doesn't matter where the stem is, if it even has a stem, if it has a flag on it, if the note is colored in. What you're basically doing is you're looking at where the note head falls, okay? If that note head has a line going straight through the middle of it, then we say it's a line note. If, however, that note head is sitting in between 2 lines, or is sitting below a line, or on top of a line, these are all examples of space notes, okay? In order for it to be a line note, the line has to go directly through the center of the circle, of the note head, okay? So if I wanted to put a note around line 1, I'm going to use a whole note, and that's how I would do it. Around line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5, okay? This is not a line note. Technically, that note is in the space, okay? Remember, the line has to go through it. This is line 1, this note is around line 1, this note is on line 2, line 3, 4, 5, okay? For it to be a space note, the note has to be in between the lines. That's space 1, space 2, space 3, oh, and I'm going to squeak in space 4 right here, okay? So that's how you identify whether a note is a line or a space. It doesn't matter whether the note is colored in, whether the stem's going up or down. You look at where the note head is, and that helps you determine whether it's a line or a space note. Now, the other 2 things I quickly want to point out to you is I want to take a look at 2 more music symbols. These 2 symbols, they are not notes, they are not rests. They have a totally different purpose. We have something that looks like this called a treble clef. And the word treble in music means high. So if you see this symbol at the beginning of a music staff, then it's going to mean that the pitches on that staff are going to be relatively high. If you have this symbol, it is called a bass clef. And bass means low. So if you have the bass clef at the beginning of a music staff, then that means the pitches on that staff are going to sound pretty low. If you take piano, you know that the right hand plays notes on a staff that has the treble clef. If you have a staff that has the bass clef, in piano, the left hand plays the bass clef. Okay? What we're going to look at first right now is the treble clef on the music staff. So any note or pitch, any note on the staff with a treble clef, it's going to have a higher pitch, okay? You need to know also that the nickname of the treble clef, is the G clef. And this is why. When we name the letters, when we name the lines with our music letters, it is very important that you remember them in this order, okay? And I'm going to come back to this G clef in just a second. The letter name of the bottom line is E. The second line is G, B, D, and then F, okay? Remember, again, I'm counting from the bottom up. If you were in elementary school, you probably memorized a sentence. Every good boy does fine. You might have used the sentence, every good boy deserves fudge. I've heard, even George Bush drives fast. Ernie gave Bert dental floss. Empty the garbage before Dad flips. So what you're doing is you're making up a sentence with 5 words in it, where the first word starts with E, the second word starts with G, the third word starts with B, the fourth one with D, and the fifth one with F. Notice that the treble clef is curling around the second line, and that second line is named G. That's why the treble clef is sometimes called the G clef. So you need to know that the nickname of the treble clef is the G clef, okay? Also, the letter names of the spaces spell the word face, F-A-C-E, okay? Now, that changes, however. Let me show you one more thing before I show you how that changes. Let me show you that if I move on my staff from the line to the space, to the line, to the space, to the line, to the space, okay? If I move up the staff that way, notice that I'm moving alphabetically. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. I don't start with A, I start with E, but I'm still moving alphabetically. And when I get to G, I start back over with A. Okay? E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay? So, now, however, let's move on. If you have a staff that has the bass clef on it, your letter names of your lines and spaces are going to be different. Okay, here's the bass clef. Okay, the bass clef is sometimes nicknamed the F clef, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. For the bass clef, the letter names of the lines are G, B, D, F, A, okay? And the sentence that I learned for the bass clef lines is, good boys do fine always. Remember, you're probably going to want to copy all of this down into your music binder. Pause it here so you can copy the sentence for the lines of the bass clef. You need to write out, good boys do fine always. And I hope that you went back when I was doing the treble clef and wrote the sentence down for the treble clef. Now, the letter names for the spaces of the bass clef are A, C, E, G. And that doesn't really spell a word like face does when we're in the treble clef. So we use another sentence. All cows eat grass. okay? All cows eat grass. So just so you know, that for our purposes, we're mainly going to work on the treble clef lines and spaces. Every good boy does fine, or Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. I think that's the one that a lot of you use in elementary school. And FACE, face in the space. That's what we're going to focus on. But I do want you to be aware that if you have a bass clef, that those lines, the letter names of the lines and spaces, it changes. It's not the same, okay? Keep in mind, you need to know that the treble clef's nickname is G clef, and the bass clef's nickname is F clef. And I forgot to tell you while I had it up here, the reason it's called the F clef is because these little dots bracket the F line. Remember I said, good boys do fine always? Yep, that's why it's the F clef, is because the dots of the bass clef bracket that, okay? So make sure you know those two things. Watch the next video about lines and spaces of the treble and bass clef. At the end of the video, I think he talks about downloading a test about reading notes on the staff. Ignore that, we're not doing a test, but it is a video with some really cool graphics that helps you to understand this better. So make sure you're getting this in your notes, and we're gonna move on to the next video.